Guys, I remember as I was learning Torah for the first time in my life in my late 20s and early 30s, I remember my father, who was all for it, but he was asking me, he asked me one question. He said, Tzvi, how did I and my friends, people that I know, people who grew up in the Soviet Union without any Torah, how did we know what right and wrong was? How is it that we had common sense? For example, how did we know that, the Soviet regime was crap? How did we know that whatever they were feeding us about, what was going on with Israel and the Six-Day War and Egypt and all the rest of it, how did we know that that was propaganda? How did we know that I was that bullshit? Besides the fact that we're Jews and all that other stuff. And I said to him, and he's like, we didn't have Torah. We didn't have like a book that gave us a moral compass. We just knew, right? And I said to him, because you guys were raised by people who also had moral compasses, who also on top of that, they went through a war. They distinctly, in a very delineated way, saw what was good and what was evil. My grandfather was an officer in World War II. He escaped, I mentioned this before, what's called encirclement twice, POW camp, makeshift POW camp twice, which is a miracle, and it's a miracle that my father was born and that I was born because of that. My grandmother was in evacuation. My other grandmother was, whatever, she was like a nurse in some, military field hospital kind of thing. So people lived through stuff, right? Anti-Semitism, pogroms maybe, all this kind of stuff. They the government doing stuff to them. My grandfather was put in jail twice for BS, for like nonsensical things. So these were people who, they didn't need any kind of book or any kind of organized religion to know what was good and what was evil. They understood it intrinsically. And they taught their kids what that was and what that looks like, right? Or even if they didn't teach them actively, it was by example, right? My friends, where am I going with this? Today, I read, there was like a letter, some kind of letter, penned by or signed by however many quote-unquote self-styled, and I say this self-styled with utmost conviction, self-styled. Okay? I don't care if they got smicha, if somebody gave them smicha, quote-unquote smicha. They're self-freaking styled, quote-unquote thought leaders, if you can even say that they have any thoughts in their brain that are any half-baked or fully baked, right? They signed the letter, basically, in short, I'm going to condense the letter. What the letter says, that, this war cannot go on, the war in Gaza, and we are torturing these people, and we have denied them food, and folks, they literally, if you read the letter, it's almost like the letter was written by a combination of some Hamas guy and, that lady, Albanese, the lady in the UN, special rapporteur, like Christian Amanpour, special rapporteur, okay, written by her, maybe the head of the UN, this freaking Torquemada guy, I forget his name, I just call him Torquemada because he's from Spain, and some guy from Hamas, and maybe, who else? Yeah, I think that's it, right? And maybe some schmuck from BBC. And now these modern Orthodox rabbis, one of whom is like apparently some kind of I call him talisman of a particular university that's known for, like, where Orthodox Jews go. Folks, they signed a letter and they fully stand behind this letter. Folks, I usually when I say the term Erev Rav, right, in my mind I'm thinking of people like George Soros. I'm thinking of people like I don't know, Rob Reiner. All these like secular Bernie Sanders. My friends, I posted something about Erev Rav a couple of weeks ago, and a friend of mine responded to me, Tzvi, you have it all wrong. it's just the religious Jews that come in the name of Torah, but they're really in reality against the nation, doing things against the nation, to sabotage the nation. And I said to him, I agree with you, but it's also, it's both, right? He goes to me, no, it's primarily those people. My friends, that friend, I forget who it was, turned out to be 100% correct. If you read what this letter said, and if you look at the names of who signed this thing, quote unquote modern Orthodox, whatever the F that means, rabbis, which they're not, I wouldn't even call them rabbis at this point, signed the letter. Okay? Folks, the Zohar says that the number one impediment to the Geulah, to the redemption, is the Erev Rav. And it's these particularly group of people. The people that come with the kippot. Again, it's not all people with kippos, right? Chas v'shalom. But there's people who have kippot, who come in the name of Torah, who come in the name of, goodness and decency and blah, 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 blah. But the people who, at best, I think, don't have a shred of common sense in their brain to understand, for example, that if we don't finish this war, drive Amalek out of that land and settle that land and rectify the catastrophe that we did, by the way. If you're one of these rabbis watching, we did it on Tisha B'Av. Since you mentioned Tisha B'Av in the letter, we are rectifying the catastrophe and moving back in there. If we don't do that, we're going to get another October 7th. And guess what? And I'm telling you as a Russian-speaking Jew, okay, who just has common sense in his head, it's going to be even worse than the first one. The sequel will be scarier than the first movie, right? They get scarier and scarier each one, right? Each installment. That's precisely what's going to happen, my friends. God forbid, if we don't do this, finish this correctly. When I say finish it, I don't mean just stop doing it and goodbye, leave. And leave this Amalek orc factory there, right? No. So, my friends, I guess the Erev Rav has been identified. They have, announced their presence to us. Now we know who they are. It's not all of the Erev Rav. There's probably more. Some of them are in Israel. Yes, some of them have kippahs as well. But at least the ones that because a lot of them live in Hutz La'aretz, a lot of them live outside the land of Israel. And we know who they are. And good. And my friends, if you are associated with any one of these guys, or you read their statements or read their writings, social media, if you go to their shul, I would strongly advise you to reconsider that. I don't know these guys personally, but folks, there is literally nothing worse than a Jew who's coming in the name of Torah, who is literally, I will say at best, with naivete, enabling those who would send us to our death. With glee. They will send us to our death with glee. There's nothing worse than a Jew who would empower such creatures. Okay? There's absolutely nothing worse. Whether they're naive about it, whether they're deliberate about it, whether they think that their ideology is correct, their philosophy, or their take on Torah and, I don't know, whatever. Life is correct. Whatever their intentions are, folks, it's bad. It's very, very, very bad. But at the very least, it's good that they came out this way. And in unison. It's very good. But my friends, this is common sense, and apparently some folks, again, you could say that they're naive, you can say this and that and the other, but folks, these are people who are thought of and known in the public as, so to speak, thought leaders. These are people who people follow, physically, digitally, whatever, right? And it's pretty freaking scary. Anyway, folks, I just wanted to, I thought I would, get the bat signal out there about this, because this is crazy. And you know what, folks? The faster, yes, that the IDF finishes this, the better, because this is just getting completely unbearable. And yeah, that's all I want to say. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.